Welcome to part 7 of an interview with Roman Harambura as Kuntarkis on his book The Dream Assassin Volume 1. Let's continue. In your short introduction to your future book called The Dream Assassin Volume 2, on page 687, being towards the end of The Dream Assassin Volume 1, you stated in the intro that imagination is the beginning in discovering who we as a species truly are. Then you stated we as humanity are all magical beings manifested from that substance you call living energy and becoming living consciousness. My question to you, are you speaking from a fictitious manner, meaning total fiction, or are you speaking in a non-fiction manner, saying that's truly what we as human beings are in reality?
Okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith. I said this before, but I'll say it again, and it's just reinforcing that there is so much more to human physical existence. We each are more spiritual than being a physical human, and that has nothing to do with religion in any way. All religions are simply a belief system created long ago simply to dominate any form of society. In the human reality of what we are today, meaning this moment, we are living the human body of awareness. We try to make the human body so perfect, and yet, in most cases, are still carnivores, murdering several billion animals each year to so-called survive. In reality, most humans eat the dead, rotting flesh. This is being totally truthful from the heart. You cannot grow in consciousness if you eat of the dead, as you become the living dead. There is no way, because dead meat turns toxic and toxifies the human body. And that's why there are hundreds of people in Australia alone every single week discovering that they have some form of bowel cancer or other ailments of illness. The only reason they have that condition is because of the consumption of animal products. It literally ferments and turns toxic, which ends up in the human blood system, causing all sorts of problems. Most people fear any sort of change. It's called being highly self-conditioned. We all as humans need to do our own research to discover the actual reality of what we as a species are. Again, my book, The Dream Assassin Volume 1 and 2, go beyond what most cannot comprehend because of our continuous conditioning. We are all manifested from the substance called pure living energy through a human process, being our parents. Your mother becomes pregnant, and then you are born into the human world of solid matter. That's called reincarnation, like the wheels of life, over and over again. Then you're born, you already have some forms of disabilities consciously because you're going to think like your parents for a very long period of time. Why? Genetics of both your parents flowing through your blood, and blood in the human body is the secret to the existence of human life. Naturally, without blood, we would all perish because blood has everything we as humans need. It nourishes the human body in every nutrient we each require, like a volcano. The volcano has veins running right throughout the entire planet Earth, and it feeds the Earth with lava. The lava is the blood within our veins, which runs throughout our entire human body.
That's a brilliant way of explaining the interior of the human body. I just had a thought and a question came into it. We have spoken about different civilizations in other universes in some of our episodes. Your book, The Dream Assassin Volume 1, to me, has some parts about alien species. Could you just give a small brief explanation on a civilization you come from called the Nar'Karones?
Yeah, okay, I can do that. My civilization, being my world, is 417,000 light years from planet Earth. They are referred to as the Nar'Karones and are in this present moment 27 million years in their own evolution and around 40 billion in their population. and known throughout many universes as the guardians of peace. Their planet, Nar'Karones, is double in size compared to planet Earth and have 3 suns and no longer needs a moon, meaning nighttime does not exist in their universe. Their vibrational frequency is at a higher level than, say, on planet Earth. Their technology is mind-boggling, to say the least. Most scientists of today on Earth would find it quite difficult to compute. The Nar'Karones have always worked with pure living energy from the beginning of their own existence. They believe that energy is everything and everything is energy. All of their way of life, even through technology, has been manifested from the substance called living energy into their physical reality. How, one may ask? Everything on their planet is formulated through thought consciousness, either by a single Nar'Karon or a million Nar'Karons. Being the guardians of many universes, they have not only saved many civilizations, but also helped them in the creation of technology that would help to keep them safe from other forms of aggressive, barbarian aliens. And there are many throughout the trillions of universes that do exist. Just like there are billions of planets within all those universes, as well as millions of life forms in their own evolution. Everything is governed throughout all universes by thought consciousness when it comes to self-evolution of any form of species.
I know I have heard some of that before, yet what you just explained is really intriguing. Another question just came up. Why haven't the Nar'Karones come to our world and stopped the elite criminals from causing such drama?
Most planets out there with their civilizations are only one species upon that planet. They don't allow intermingling with other species on other worlds. This world, being planet Earth, has a very long history that goes back over 41 million years, where over 200 different alien species have come here with the intent to own this planet Earth. The violent wars were beyond any form of understanding, and those wars went on for over several million human years. The 7th-dimensional beings known as the Nipulans have the total recordings for all of those 41 million years. If we look back just over 928,000 human years, humanity has had over 157,000 violent, bloody wars. Nearly 19 billion human people were murdered, slaughtered in those wars. What we have on this planet are very different forms of aliens who never left the planet because of warring and were abandoned so far back in human history and have been intermingling with other forms of evolving species that were forming into humans, especially over the last 928,000 years of human evolution. The different forms of negative emotions within cultures are just incredible, and mainly because of 3 specific reasons, and they are religions, lust, and especially greed. And that has been the biggest downfall of humanity. And how sad is that? Very sad. We as humanity need to step beyond these boundaries that we each have created so we can evolve consciously and see the truth of the human logical ego, totally built on self-created fears from lifetime to lifetime, and so on throughout all of human history.
Yeah, it certainly is. You've shared so much in that answer, and yes, it's true. Another question. You haven't really shared much on what a walk-in is and the process. Could you share some knowledge on that, please?
Yes, of course I can. This is the process, and I will use the original recipient who existed within this human body when it was born. The being who lived in this body was born on the 23rd of the 1st, 1951. His human father was known as Jaroslav Harambura, and his mother, her name was Janina Harambura. He grew up without his mother. His mother left his father when he was only 8 months old. His father told him when he was born his mother died. At that time, he was only 6 years old when his father told him. It did cause some emotional complications within him as he felt guilty and he felt he may have been responsible for his mother's death. He grew up to the age of nearly 18, and by then he had his emotional issues, but he also had a strong imagination, and that's the main reason I chose him. As him being the child, he would sit on the floor with his legs folded for hours on end, deeply engrossed within his greatest gift called imagination. His father, on different occasions, would ask him, "Son, why do you sit there on the floor with your eyes closed?" He opened his eyes and looked at his father with a big smile, saying to him, "I love you, Daddy, but I am in my imagination." That's all he would say, as his dad would walk away shaking his head. About a week after that incident, he got a phone call from his human sister asking him to come to Sydney, which he ended up doing. When he arrived, his sister picked him up and took him to a house. His sister Irene walked him up to the front door and told him to knock. When he did, the door opened. Standing there was a lady called Janina, his mother. He stood there completely quiet, then just fell to his knees sobbing. He stayed with his mother for about 8 days. During that time, he became violently ill because of finding out his mother was alive all those years, and his dad lied to him. The emotions were very heavy. When he got back to Brisbane, he just couldn't handle the emotions in what he was feeling. He just wanted to die. That's when the connection between him and myself as Kuntarkis became reality, and an agreement was formed verbally. He ended up in the emergency ward when he stepped out of his physical body and I stepped into the physical body, and I became Roman Harambura, who had to complete all of his own self-created karma, which I did over many human years.
Wow, that would have been a big experience. So he actually committed suicide?
Yes, he did. But because he had an agreement between us from a spiritual aspect, and with me agreeing to complete his karma, there was no form of issue. It happens a lot, not just on planet Earth, but many universes. It's simply a process in reality. He projected out, and I walked in to a human existence. I have been within this universe being on planet Earth over the last 13,331 human years. I have said this many times before. My name is Kuntarkis from a planet called Nar'Karones, which is 417,000 light years from this planet Earth. So, in reality, the process of being a walk-in is simple, especially if one has done it before.
That is a very interesting answer. Have you had any criticism or feedback on the above answer?
No, I haven't had any form of criticism. When it comes to feedback, I would have to say some positive and some a little negative, mainly because people haven't heard much about a walk-in or even what a walk-in actually is. In reality, there have been lots of walk-ins over human history. That's another reason I put that information into my book, The Dream Assassin, Volume 1 and 2, so it can help in the opening of one's mind.
So when you entered the body of Roman, did you feel different in any way?
As a matter of fact, when I awoke, the body seemed paralyzed, especially from the hips down. As I lay there looking around, there were several other people in hospital beds. I saw this lady caring for some. As she walked past me, I asked, "Why are my legs paralyzed?" Being the nurse, she said it would be the injections the doctor was putting into your legs.
Wow, that would have been a little scary, coming into a body and you couldn't walk, eh? Did you look at your hands and think they were different to what your hands would have been as a 7 foot tall Nakaran?
Yeah, yes, I did, a little shocked. I said to myself, my hands are so small.
While we're on the topic of walk ins, I want to ask the reason why today have so many walk-ins become less and less on planet Earth? Is it because what I have learnt from you that these beings from other realities struggle to handle the weight of Earth's gravity?
Yes, that is one of the reasons. The other reason, or reasons, many who walk in for the first time in such a negative human history of such violence cannot handle their existence in a human third dimensional physical vibration, ending up as a drug addict, alcoholic, many end up committing suicide, which then holds their energy, being their spirit, in the human spirit vibration, being fourth dimensional. And they end up within the wheels of life, being reincarnation. Sometimes it can be for many lives. That's the main reason walk ins have slowed down.
Wow, that's really sad for them, not being able to handle it in the human world. Also, the loneliness and the negative energies, it would just put them down more and more. More so if it's their first time on this planet. Hey,
Because of the human history, this negative energy doesn't disperse because most of humanity have no understanding of its existence. It infiltrates every building, every neighborhood. Look at it this way. Every time we step out of a building or even a house, and let's say we might be a negative person, and if a positive person walks towards us, they walk through our energy field being our aura, and it can and does affect them psychologically. Remembering energy is everything and everything is energy. So our personal positivity or our personal negativity affects all others in some form or fashion. Again, that's why I wrote the books, The Dream Assassin, Volume 1 and 2, and says what I said to help open up the reader's intellect.
wow, that is just amazing. That answer has press buttons in me to look at, that's for sure. Is there anything else you wish to add to that answer?
Yes, there is. That's the biggest reason why we as a species called human continually reincarnate on the wheel of life, because we can't get off it. Then we have these teachers that are teaching us continuously. That's a part of human evolution. That is simply old conditioning, an old belief system. There is a time to recognize that we don't have to exist or live anymore to that type of old conditioning. And by changing our thoughts, our thinking, we each can evolve beyond and step into a new form of self awareness in our consciousness. When we as individuals go beyond the human brain and learn to connect to our mind, we open up the greatest gift called imagination, and we connect to our soul, which is our true divinity. We then are no longer negative emotional beings. We become heart feeling beings. That's what evolution is all about.
Yeah, I follow you. Complete sense. Wow. This concludes the end of part 7 of the interview with Roman Harambura as Kuntarkis on his book called The Dream Assassin Volume 1. If you wish for more information on his book or books, go to etcconsciousness.com, or if you wish to listen to any of the many podcast episodes, go to kuntarkis.buzzsprout.com. My name is Michael Yon. Please stay tuned for part 8 of The Dream Assassin Volume 1.